Extra. No.
Hey everybody, it's Keith here, live in the lab.
What you know about rolling down in the deep when you
A little bit of Mass Wolf bringing us in today on a Wednesday. Special guest, Joel Yi. He's going to talk to us about something really cool. Has anybody think about revenue recovery? Like actually dig into that sandbox where there's opportunity and just kind of think, there's no opportunity over there. This guy is going to tell you there's opportunity over there. I'm telling you, I did a little bit of reading and I'm all about sales myself. So we're going to have a great chat today. I just had a quick little snippet with Joel. Upcoming digital nomad. The guy's, living in front of a white wall. He's going to be moving around the planet, I think, living off of probably his digital world. So we're going to be excited to hear about that. Talk revenue recovery with Joel Yi coming up in a couple seconds. And then, but before we dig into the conversation, those of you that have been paying attention to Keith and Roland and what's happening in our world, in the lab, in the Business Athlete Performance Lab, we launched Truthbox yesterday, truthbox.ai. Joel doesn't know this. He's just hearing about this for the first time himself. So I'm going to bring Joel into the room, introduce him to you guys, and then also introduce Joel to Truthbox, talk a little bit about that, and then get into Joel's world of revenue recovery and finding money in that their inbox and CRM of yours. Welcome to the show, Joel Yi.
Hey Keith, thanks for having me here, man. I'm so excited. You started with such energy, and I'm like, let's go, let's run this.
Awesome, man. Did you hear the tunes on your side of the fence over there? Does it come on your side?
I did. You know what? When it played, I was worried for a second because I couldn't hear you speak. I just heard the music. I thought, well, it's all good.
Awesome, that's good. Well, listen, music is the soundtrack to life. And we so easily forget about that, right? So it was important to me when we launched this show. I said to Roland, we're going to bring tunes in, man, and we're going to create this kind of fun atmosphere along the way. So, but listen, I'm really grateful to have you join us today. And before we talk about Truthbox, let's talk about the white wall behind you. What's going on?
Yeah, so if you caught me about a week ago, I would have my whole setup here, my 2 Comma Club awards, right? My client reviews and everything. But we sold everything. We moved everything. We shipped everything to my in-laws' house because my wife and I are getting on a journey of a lifetime. We are moving and traveling across primarily the US and then Asia and the rest of the world in the next year because we are going to be running my clients' events, speaking from stage, and also just working the laptop lifestyle, right? Being a digital nomad. I've been working, I've actually never worked in a physical location before, right? In an actual office. Because when I started my career, it was in this online marketing space.
Yeah.
But then I realized, I was like, why do I have so much, baggage? Why do I have so much anchors to tie me down to one spot?
Yeah.
When we could actually live to our fullest potential and network and do big deals and travel the world. And also, most importantly, get out of that comfort zone.
All right. Okay. I gotta settle down here, man, because you got me jacked. Like your energy. So you're kind of living what I have. Oh man, I would love to. So you're packing up and you're traveling around. You guys buy a motorhome?
Yes.
You buy a motorhome or like a van or a Sprinter van?
We're gonna live the sweet life first. We're gonna live in hotels for a bit, maybe Airbnbs. I got good loyalty with hotel and airlines.
That's awesome.
Good status. Yeah.
That's so I'm getting a little, I see that, Roland. I'm going to do a little quick check here. So our good old producer Roland here, who's always making sure we're doing good, is like, hey, your positioning with your guests is a little bit off on the camera. So we're going to fix that. Roland, I just mixed up both here. So I'm going to do this here and we are going to edit on the fly. So it's funny, Joel, because we're doing this live. I wanted to do a live show because why not? Everybody does recording. So I'm like, let's do it live. Yeah. Let's kind of fall on the fly.
Absolutely.
Let's fix our faults in front of everyone and let's have success and failure in front of everyone and learn together.
Absolutely. Hey, look, I love it, man. Fail forward. You know what they say? Fail forward.
Just like you and your wife. So you're packing up and you guys are going to travel around the States and you're going to live the sweet life and you're going to go to client events and you're going to work remotely the entire for a year, Joel?
I would say, yeah, it's definitely going to be at least a year, but it might be 2 or 3, just depending on how much we like it, and how and where, and see where life takes us, right? See where life takes us.
I love it. So tell me about that conversation. Was it, hey, honey, what do you think about this? Or did she approach you? Or how did you both arrive? Yeah, okay. How did you arrive at this decision?
So I'm a man of faith myself, right? I
Okay.
believe in God and Jesus to save my life, change my life. And I was, but I wasn't, I wasn't as I guess I didn't have a deep relationship until a lot recently in the past year and a half. So this happened about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And it's kind of crazy because we live in Vancouver, Canada. But
Yeah.
the story about that is also crazy because we're actually Americans. We're Americans that moved to Vancouver, Canada about 4 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
And so this is Canada right now. So I'm in Canada, and we were laying on our bed one night. We were laying on our bed one night, and we were like, and this is like she already got accepted to a 4-year naturopath school, like a medical school, right here in Canada. And we were planning to settle here the whole time, And I was like, I just had this calling. I was praying about this, and I was like, I just feel like maybe, what if we did something crazy at this stage of our life, right? Because we're pretty young. What if something crazy? And I didn't know how to bring it up to her because she already committed to 4 years of school, and I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to like take that away from her. But I was like, you know what? I was praying about this. So we were laying in bed.
Yeah.
About 2 months ago, one night, I was like, babe, I'm gonna tell you something crazy.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what I feel called to say. I said, what if we packed everything up and sold everything and traveled the world and did client events and trusted on God and see how He provides. But I know you have your school, so even if you want to stay, that's perfectly fine. But it was crazy. She was like, you know what? If that's what you really feel called to do, like let's do it. And then literally the next day, she took back her initial deposit for her school, her place, right? $2,000. She withdrew her application and is now on this journey with me. So yeah, that was a very interesting conversation.
Talk about unconditional.
Yeah, super grateful for her. Super, yeah. It's to her, to my family, to God, right? To everybody, right?
I love it, Joel. I love it. Where did you find that? So you're a man of faith. A great deal of respect for that. Did you look to your faith to find the vulnerability to have that conversation with your wife? Because I can imagine you wrestled. You had two of these people on your shoulders. Right now, don't talk about it. Yeah, talk about it. No, don't. Nah, yeah, do. And it was that wrestle. Yeah. Where did you dig into your own vulnerability to say, honey, because it clearly could have went the other way too, which would have provided some conflict.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely that. It's definitely, I was like, you know what? It's because here's the thing. I felt my whole life, I've been really blessed by God. Like, and I can share my story, how I even got to the US, right? That's the stories of the stories. Like, there's so many things that happened to me and people around me, my wife, family, like even friends, people are like, it's very supernatural. I really cannot explain that, I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be here on a podcast with you, right? Like my life was never destined for anything like this. So as I got a lot older, I got more mature. That's when I realized, it's not, I didn't do this myself, right? I definitely had a lot of help from my mentors, my friends, my family, but ultimately there's somebody up there who really, really, really is doing supernatural stuff. So when I realized that about a year and a half ago, yes, you're right. I then could tap into my vulnerabilities and actually then speak with confidence because I've prayed and talked, to God about it. And yes, you're right, to answer your question.
That's remarkable. So Joel, you alluded to the fact that it was an interesting story to get here and you shouldn't be here. You've opened the door, so I'm going to walk through it with you. What drew you to your faith in God and what drew you down that path? And you said there's some crazy stories. I'm a big believer. All great stories deserve to be told. And I can already tell you here, we have many minutes to hear your story. What brought you, what changed your life? What brought you here?
Yeah. So this is where it gets fun. Yeah. I appreciate you asking, Keith. People think that because of my accent and the way I speak, people think they naturally assume I was just born in the States and I grew up in the States. Mm-hmm. No, I've been in North America less total years of my life, much less than I've actually been from my home country in Asia. So I was born in Malaysia.
Okay.
I grew up in Malaysia. I spent 16 years in Malaysia.
Yeah.
I moved to the US when I was 16 as an international student on an F1 visa just to study. Now, this is where the supernatural stuff happens, right? Like, as an international student, you're just that. You're an international student. You get your degree, then you go back home and you work wherever you want back home. Like you're meant to get a degree from the States, and that's it. very few people actually get work visas or even a green
Yes.
card to remain in the
Yes.
US. I don't know
Yes.
whether you know how tough it is.
Yeah,
but
so
it's
I'm
tough.
here. I'm here in Canada with you. I'm just a few provinces over. I'm here in Manitoba.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm
Okay.
I'm a friendly neighbor of yours. But keep going. Yeah. So I do know how
Yeah,
difficult it is to get that. Yeah.
yeah, so it's tough, right? Yeah, even in Canada it's tough. So, um, and the only way for me to get a green card in the US was either to hopefully get a lottery and get the work visa or get married to an American. Really, those were a few options, you know?
Yeah.
But so crazy. So I came to the US in 2012, but back in 2009, Obama opened a program with the Department of Defense, the US military, called MAFNI. MAFNI stands for Military Accessions Vital to National Interest. Long story short, for that fancy name, they're looking for two types of people. They're looking for medical professionals
Yes.
and foreign nationals that can speak a foreign language that the government needed.
Really?
So check this out. Check this out. And again, this program has now been officially shut down. You can
So
Google Math.
you're sitting in Malaysia. You're sitting in Malaysia having your life, and you just come across this article that's like, hey, or you were.
Well, I was already here as an international student, though.
Okay, right. Okay, you were here. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I was here studying, but again, I was like, man, like I love this country. Because one thing, and I'm sure you recognize this as well. Growing up in being in North America, like people in North America, they have it good. Until you live somewhere else or you grow up somewhere else, you might not realize how good you have it in North America. And when I came, I was like, oh my gosh, they have public transportation? What? They have working, functional bathrooms that are clean? Like it blew my mind because I was where I'm from, it's not like that.
Incredible.
I had such a sense of privilege and gratitude to be in North America. But then when I looked around me, a lot of people live taking things for granted. They live with so much privilege, they forgot what they had was good. And then I told myself, if I could ever remain in this country, I would live to my best potential. I would be so grateful. I would not take things for granted, right? And so I was like, man, if only God could give me a way, if only I could find a way to stay in North America. And that's when the supernatural happened. I found, just out of nowhere, I was Googling one night. This was about 2 years into living in as a student in the US.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I remain in the US besides getting married to somebody?
Yes.
Or besides getting a lottery and trying to get a work visa?
Of course.
And there was this random link that said MAFNI program. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is 2014, right? 2 years later, MAFNI program. Talk to an army recruiter and see if you qualify. But here's where the story gets even crazier. When I spoke to the recruiter, it was open, but it was only for active duty. And I was like, you know what? As much as I want to serve the country, I don't think I want to be an active duty soldier. I was actually more interested in becoming part of the reserve, National Guard, part-time service, right?
Yes.
And I was like, man, like I want to do it, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
Guess what? 6 months later, the recruiter called me. We just opened up, I think it was like 1,000 spots in the entire country for reserves. But here's the problem. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do it. But I could only qualify through the foreign language route. And here's the thing. I actually grew up speaking English.
Okay.
So my foreign language skills aren't that strong. So I was like, oh my God, I can't qualify through Mandarin Chinese. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
My Malay is decent.
Yes.
And there's another language called Indonesian. Indonesian is a language like Malaysian, like a Malaysian language, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I was like, I did something really crazy. I basically hired an online tutor from italki.com. And for 3 months, she trained me in Indonesian.
Yeah. Because you were kind of stuck in the middle, right? You're like, I know this language, but I don't know the ones that are going to get me there. So I have to be taught how to. That's incredible.
So I had no money, but I used whatever, like, same as I could, and hired a tutor for 3 months to train me Indonesian. And when I applied and I enlisted in the army, I barely passed. Like I think the passing score, you have to get a 2 out of 5. It's out of 5. 5 is like maximum proficiency. 2 is like limited working proficiency. I had a 2 out of 5. So I got a 2 out of 5, and then I enlisted in the army. Now, this process was just insane because typically if you want to become a US citizen, you have to get a green card first. After you get a green card, then you become a US citizen. I went straight from a Malaysian passport to a US passport. within about 6 months.
Wow.
Like, and that program has now been shut. Only 5,000 people got through this program ever in the history of the US. Right. And guess what, Keith? I met my wife. She was the other one out of 5,000. So we had 2 out of 5,000 that made it through this program.
That's an incredible story. So as I was listening to you tell the story, I found myself captured. I'm sorry, as I found myself listening to the story, I found myself drawing relations to your business, right? So you made a comment that, oh yeah, a lot of people take things for granted here in North America. Well, a lot of people take things for granted in their inbox or in their sales inbox or in their CRM, right? Because it's like, well, no, it's down in the rubbish part of my CRM. I don't want to go look there. Or it's buried deep in my inbox. I don't want to go look there. It sounds remarkably like the experience you had personally. It's like, it's almost like that was your motivation to say, okay, you guys all just don't get it, because I know there's money there in those hills and I'm going to go find it. And the other thing that caught me with your story that I think relates to your business, this is Joel Yi, everybody who's just tuning in right now. I'm Keith Bilous here live in the lab. The other thing that drove me is your resilience. You just never gave up. You were determined to stay here. You were determined to build a life here, and you weren't going to take no for an answer.
That's correct.
How do you not take no for an answer? It's interesting because I'm out just launching Truthbox and knocking on people's doors and talking to people and just doing my job of sales, right? Just like you are. And a lot of people don't like that, right? A lot of people are uncomfortable with sales, right? A lot of people don't like cold calling, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm just doing my job.
Right.
Just do my job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So how did you don't clearly deal with no? Where did you learn that from, Joel? Growing up, mom and dad. Talk about mom and dad in your family.
Yeah, Keith, that's a great question. When I grew up as an Asian boy and growing up in Malaysia, I was, again, the reason why I said I shouldn't be here and I wouldn't be here had it not been for something supernatural, was I was told my whole life to stay in my lane, that I'm loud, obnoxious in school. I got punished for that, went home, got physically disciplined by my mom, and was told, hey, just don't talk. Basically, just do what your teachers say. Don't try to be special. Don't try to stand out. Don't embarrass the family. Stay in your lane.
Be a follower.
And that was the programming. That was programming in a lot of Asian societies, right?
Yeah.
So 16 years of my life, that was my programming. Now, that's why I'm saying, like, well, how did I go from that to this? And that's the question you're asking. How did you develop that resilience, right?
Yes.
How do you break out of that? So for me, I'll share with you what was the biggest pivots in my life. I think just being able to first leave the environment. And this, for anyone watching in or tuning in, like, the environment is so underestimated in terms of how much it can affect your future in your life. I think leaving home at 16 was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because that meant I could break free from chains, right? And anchors. And
but I would challenge you, Joel. I wonder if you actually made the decision, because subconsciously it sounds like the decision was made for you. You just had the awareness to pull the trigger.
So here's the thing. I wanted to do everything to get out of Malaysia.
Yes.
I just knew, like, and the reason how I got permission from my parents and they put up a bit of money for me to go to a community college in Auburn, Washington, right?
Okay.
Near Seattle, was I told my mom, hey mom, I'm going to be a doctor. And as you know, every Asian parent, they want their kids to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Yeah.
Now,
so did my parents too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And she wasn't going to let me go unless I said I was going to be a doctor. And so I did. I said I was going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And that they gave her, I guess, they gave my parents the willingness to let me go, right? To invest a bit of money and let me go to the US, to North America, right? But to answer your question of the resiliency, I think when I moved to the US at 16, that's when I truly found myself. Because then once I broke free from programming and societal norms, and you're supposed to be like this. As an Asian son, you should be like this. Right? I broke free from all of that, and I was able, again, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to have come to North America. I was able to explore who I really was. And then I found my true identity. So everything in life, I believe, and you know this to be true, Keith, everything in life that a person does, success or failure, it all comes from the identity.
Yes.
So I got to change my identity when I first moved to the US, and that was a game changer for me.
You found
Right?
it so young, Joel, 16. Man, I got to be frank with you and be very vulnerable. It took me to following my divorce, like in my 40s, to finally perhaps find myself, right? And really be as vulnerable and as honest as really, so going through my 30s, I thought who I was, but then I reflect upon it and I was like, man, I sure made some, right? But you're at 16, Joel, 16, you found yourself as you were coming from Malaysia and you landed in America and you're like, all right, this is going to be my future. Would that be a fair assumption of mine?
But it's iterations, right? Because whenever you feel like you found yourself, you always know in a few years you change and you grow and you find something better, right? So I think it was multiple. So let me give you an example. When I graduated from basic training of the military, I enrolled in something called ROTC, ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps. That was basically a commissioning program where you become a U.S. Army officer in college, right? In college.
Yeah.
So when I enrolled in it, like I met my first two mentors that I didn't pay money for. I didn't have to invest in them. They were Master Sergeant Vinny and Lieutenant Colonel Eric Dye. They were my cadre, the cadre meaning the staff members of my ROTC program in school. And they were both military, non-commissioned officers, and very senior commissioned officers. So they mentored me. And again, that part of my journey shaped my identity again. So I went through multiple iterations.
Yes.
To become what I did, right? Yeah.
I find it fascinating that you chose the path, because listen, that one word military freaks a lot of people out. Right. What do you mean?
My mom's reaction.
Well, I can only imagine, right? So to say, well, I'm joining the military, but the military was the ends to the means for you, wasn't it? Because you knew that in order for me to stay here, that was I'll put it in air quotes, sacrifice you had to make. But I can only imagine what you learned through that experience and how grateful you are that you went through that experience. Would that be a good assumption of mine as well?
Absolutely. They say the military turns a boy into a man. Absolutely true.
So knock
it's really meant to just break you down.
Yeah. So knock that cliche out and make it real for me. So take that cliche and make it real. What did that mean?
Yeah. So the first, in the military, I learned for the first time in my life what it truly meant to have camaraderie, right? To have brotherhood.
Yes.
Because I'm an only child, Keith.
Okay.
I'm an only child. I never had siblings.
Sure.
And I remember I moved to the US at 16. I never really had people around me.
You've been on your own.
Yeah, I've been on my own. But when I went to basic training at 19, I was in the military at 19. I joined at 19.
Yes.
I was in a dorm, not even a dorm, a barracks room of 50 men in Fort Benning, Georgia, right? Infantry school, 50 men. So, I'm like, oh, that's wild for me. Yeah. Never in my life have I lived with 50 guys or boys and men in a room. Right?
Yes.
So, that's why I said it turned different boys, because there, I met people from the south side of Chicago, from the hood. I met people from Louisiana, Kentucky, who spoke with a southern twang, who shot rifles and hunted. I'm like, remember, I'm a guy from Malaysia. Like, what in the world it was such a culture shock. It was people from all across the country, people from Puerto Rico, right? We even had people who were like born in the UK or Canada, and this what happened to an American citizenship and joined. So it was just weird. But for me, that was why, like, boy to man, we had hazing, we had people forming cliques, we had people ganging up on each other. It was just a whole. I can't even explain it in words, man. It was just so much growth.
All those real things that happen in the world, but nobody wants to talk about, and you're just thrust into that experience immediately. Yeah. So how long were you in the reserves for, Joel?
So I've been in about 8 years, and I got out this March. Actually, I just got out a few months ago.
Oh wow! So what does that mean when you say just got out? So how does it? You're out. So now you can't get called to duty, essentially.
Yeah. So I literally opened my email this morning. You know what? Let me show you on my phone. I opened my email this morning, and I finally got my veteran card. U.S. Army veteran card. So I'm officially a vet now.
No kidding. That is really cool.
Right
Look
here.
at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I'm veteran. I'm done. I'm done in my service. Yes. And how it works basically in the reserves, National Guard, you serve 1 weekend a month.
Okay.
So Saturday, Sunday, once a month, you go and drill with your unit.
Okay.
And if there's any deployments or anything that they need you for, then you will go on tour. We call it tour.
Yep.
A short tour is 3 months. A long tour could be 9 months long, right?
Got it.
That's when you get mobilized to active duty.
Yes. So that's a good pivot then to the athletic side, the fitness side, the wellness side, we like to talk about that here in the Business Athlete Performance Lab, these ideas of, athletic principles and business principles, bringing out the best in us. So you're going through the military, a kid from Malaysia. How did the impact of the physical structure to your life, how did that impact you? And then how have you brought that into your day-to-day today? Like how do you manage yourself today?
Yeah, cool. So backtrack a little bit. When I was growing up in Malaysia, there was one thing I was actually really good at, and I was actually known in my local town for, in Kuching. I was actually a sprinter. So I ran the 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash very, very well. Like
fantastic.
Naturally ran very well. And then my parents just dropped me off at school and I just started running and I kept running and I got trained and I won a lot of gold medals for the 100-meter, 200-meter dash locally, right? So I think from young, I already knew what it's like to train every day physically.
Okay.
Just discipline, discipline, training, running, just really. So I did that from ages 7 to about ages 14.
Okay.
Right, 14. So I quit about 2 years before I moved to the US.
Yeah.
Then from 14 to about 19, when I moved to the US in my first couple of years of college, I basically fell off the bandwagon. Right? Like I stopped working out, stopped running. I played soccer here and there.
Yeah.
But then again, right, getting ready for the military. I mean, that again was like all in. Right. Running 5 miles a day. I used to run 5 miles a day every single day, 5 days a week. So I would run about 25 to 40 miles a week just in the Army. And so I was really in shape, like for sure. 2019 to 2015 to 2018 with the military, where I was in ROTC program. That's what I did.
Okay.
Ran a lot, worked out a lot, body built quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then again, it's like iterations, it's so funny because after 2019, I fell off the bandwagon again. Then last year, 2022, after COVID, and then COVID hit. Hit, war shut down. I was in Vancouver, BC, completely locked up. No gyms were open. All I did was cycle on this little bike that we had on in a condo in our apartment. We bought a little biking unit thing.
Yes.
But then last year I hired a personal trainer. I got into bodybuilding, and now I've actually gained 25 kilograms back then was like 6 months. So I put on muscle and now I'm lifting again. So now I lift every day.
Good for you. Good. So good for you. So I'm a big proponent of lifting. I enjoy lifting heavy things up and putting them down, as I joke with my kids.
Amazing. Amazing.
Talk to me about what you've learned from adding strength training to your lifestyle and how that has impacted you in the office on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. The biggest thing, and this is so true, like when I first met my personal trainer in Vancouver last year, he was like, when you put on muscle and you gain weight, you're going to feel more confident. You're going to look yourself in the mirror and you're going to love how you look. And at first, I didn't really believe him because I never really put on that much weight.
Yeah.
But when I did it, I was like, you're right, man. I feel different. I feel more confident. I walk into a room, look good, right? You stand tall, you stand strong. And I'm not a tall guy, I'm 5'6", but now I'm 5'6", and I look stockier. Right? I look bigger. It definitely feels good. So he's right. He was definitely right.
That's an honest, awesome answer, because it's one that we often really lose sight of, frankly, right? We are always thinking about not having that answer. Well, no, because I look good. No, actually, when I feel great, when I know that I look good, I feel good. So that when you go amongst your peers and you get in front of a room to do either speaking or selling, you feel damn good about yourself, don't you? And you're like, hey man, I'm going to convince anybody.
You perform at your peak because you just feel good, right? Every human being, we do this is what we teach in sales, right?
Yes.
Humans do what they do based on just one thing, and that one thing is feeling.
Yes.
You do it because you feel like doing it,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So your kids don't eat vegetables because they just don't feel like eating vegetables.
It's so
It's just
true.
a feeling.
Yeah.
So when you feel good on stage, then it's game over. You can control the entire room. You can do anything. You're unstoppable.
Yeah, it's so true. So it would be fair to say, Joel, and you've hired a personal trainer, and
Yes.
being an athlete now is as important to you as your faith and as businesses to you now. Is it really kind of part of your lifestyle?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you think it's
Health, wealth, relationships.
Yeah. So you're a structured fellow. I'm going to make the assumption you're a structured guy.
Yes.
Structure
Yes.
in my world, structure equals success. Agree?
100%. I'm a routine guy.
Yeah. So
For
am
sure.
I can guarantee you, if you called me at 6:13 p.m., I can tell you exactly what I'd be doing, or 6:13 a.m. Like, it's just so neurotic that way.
Yep.
So then here's what here's what makes it uneasy for me, because strength training and my wellness, my physical wellness, is part of my structure. How are you going to fit all that into your structure of your nomadic digital lifestyle when you're going to be always on the goal? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. That's when discipline really kicks in, right?
Yes.
Because it's those nights or those mornings where you feel like, I'm so sleepy. I only slept 4 hours.
Yeah.
Can't lift. That's when the identity, the discipline has to kick in.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not about motivation. Motivation is fleeting. But it's the discipline to say, you know what, I'm gonna stick to my routine. So for me, that's why it's like I've told you from the start, is a big change in my comfort zone.
Yes.
I have to get out of my comfort zone. So I'm gonna have to do things that are very uncomfortable. But I'm not going to with the way we travel in the next couple months isn't like we're switching locations every 3-4 days. We'll probably be in an area for a good 1 or 2 weeks.
Right.
So I'll be able to still work out very well during those weekdays and everything, because I'll be doing my routine.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I love that statement you just made. Motivation is fleeting.
Yes.
You believe that, don't you?
I 100% believe that. Learn that in the military.
Expand on that. Expand on that. You learned that in the military.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, military is all about discipline. There is no motivation. We are yelled at, cussed at, berated every single day, no matter how good you do. You just, because in training, right? They just discipline you. All they do is to just say you're not good enough, do better. You're not good enough, do better. There is really there really isn't much motivation.
Yeah. It's
so in those 2-4 months of intense training every single day, you just learn to develop the muscle of discipline.
I've always said to somebody, at least, back when I was building teams and so forth, I don't want to hire somebody who I need to motivate, or I don't want to work with somebody who I need to motivate, because if they need motivation, they're never going to get it. Right. You have to find that motivation somewhere in yourself before you can come to the table. Do you agree with that as well?
Yes. 100%. Motivation comes from within. But also at the same time, discipline kicks in when motivation isn't there. Right?
Discipline kicks in when motivation. Yeah, you're right. Because if you have the discipline ingrained in you, it's like your reflex. Right? You just do it.
I think of it like this. I think of discipline as like the gas that powers the car.
Yes.
Discipline keeps the car going, right? In a straight line. It keeps going. It keeps hustling one step at a time. Motivation could be like nitrous, could be like turbo.
Yes.
Hey, when you have motivation, good, you go faster. But guess what? Your turbo needs to be charged. You can run on nitrous 24/7.
Yes.
But then what do you have? Your car can't stop in the middle of the road. You need the gas. That's where discipline comes in.
Joel, you're wise beyond your years, clearly. How do you keep the discipline in your relationship with your wife? How do you two keep each other centered, and how do you keep the discipline together?
It's definitely been a tough journey because, I got married relatively young. I got married, and this is young because, compared to my friends, my age these days, right?
Yeah.
I got married at 22, 23.
Okay.
When I turned 22. So, the first 2 years were definitely rough.
Yes.
We were still immature. I'll say immature. A lot of growing to do.
Of course.
A lot of insecurities, a lot of trauma from my childhood that I didn't realize I had, that I had to work through. But I think, as they always say this, and I really know this to be true, the tough times actually make you grow closer together.
No
And I
question.
think I really appreciate the tough times with my wife. You know, there are times where we considered divorce. There were times where we thought it was not going to work out, but we just worked through it. We just worked through it, and it's still a work in progress, right? To be fair, it's always a work in progress.
100%.
But again, going back to my faith, I still believe the reason why we're still together, is because of the man up there. Because I believe I can't glue this together. I myself, no matter how much power, no matter how much I try, I might still not make this work. But the person up there could do the supernatural, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I come to terms in my relationship.
I applaud you for that. I applaud you for that. Joel, you're a great communicator. Talk about how you and your wife use communication to keep those bridges open. Is it something you guys have to actively work on? Is it something that your wife is a big fan of? Do you both, mutually communicate together, or is one side talking, one side listening? Talk about the power of communication in your relationship.
Yeah, it's definitely a give or take, right? It's definitely a listen, try to listen more, right? In
Yes.
sales, listen more than you speak. And
Yes.
another saying, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right?
Yes.
So listen
Yes.
more. And obviously, it's hard for me in the beginning because I'm a naturally talkative person.
Sure.
I tend to talk over people. I can get really excited when I talk. So it's still a training for me to be like, you know what? Listen,
Yes.
listen, calm down. This, right? So for me, that's a big reminder for myself every single day. But in terms of communication, we're both very different.
Mhm.
So if you know, like the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs
Yes, of course.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's an F. She's feeling.
Uh-huh.
I'm a T, right? I'm a T, which I believe T and F is like the two opposite. I think T is like intuition or something like that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm more logical processing.
Right.
So I made the mistake when we were younger in our marriage where I would say something and it would make her feel a certain way. And I would be like, why do you feel like that? Right. But now I'm being more mature. I'm like, you know what? That's just how we communicate.
Yes.
I have to be more patient and understanding, just like how she also has to be with me. So we've grown in that way, just understanding each other's communication style.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that. I'd say one of the best things that I have done is get behind a microphone and interview other people, because it forces you to be thoughtful with your questions, and it forces you to stop talking and listen. Right. So, because I like to communicate, I love to communicate. Right. Sometimes, so I've had to learn to speak less, listen more, and it's just come with age. Right. But it has been a wonderful skill, which is saying, okay, I'm going to sit here and ask questions and listen and try to have a good dialogue. Right. So, you talked about, as I completely lose my train of thoughts here, vulnerably in front of you right now. Let's switch gears from relationships, authentic conversations. Let's switch gears to sales, revenue. Let's switch gears to making money. There's a quote that you are noted for, which is, "There are acres of diamonds in your list of dead leads." So you are a revenue recovery expert. Let's put family aside. Let's dig into the black and white of making money in business right now. What is a revenue recovery expert, and what does Joel do day to day? How do you help companies?
Yes. So revenue recovery is exactly what it sounds like. A lot of companies have a lot of revenue that they're missing out on because they remain dormant, because the revenue remains trapped in their inactive leads. So when I recover them, what we do is we do two things.
Mm-hmm.
We have a proprietary software called Harvest AI.
Mm-hmm.
What Harvest does is it allows you to do voicemail drops, emails, and text all at the same time that makes your messaging and your copy sound very personal. Then what I do is I craft a strategy for my clients, and we launch those campaigns to their lists. It's another term for this is called database reactivation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So another famous term is this is known as database reactivation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What pointed you in this direction? Was there a company you knew that was working on this? Was there somebody you knew was in the industry, or again, because of your resilience, you're like, nah, there's some money in that bucket. I'm going to go get it across the bottom. How did you end up here?
Great question. Great question. I didn't share this in this part of my story yet, but I was actually the former head of sales director at a multi eight-figure coaching company.
Okay.
I think people probably recognize his name. He's also Canadian. He's the reason why I moved up to Vancouver, Canada.
Okay.
His name is Dan Locke.
Okay.
Dan Locke, 4.5 million YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
I was his head of sales.
Okay.
Now, here's the story of how I stumbled upon this world. I had an opportunity back in 2021, 2019. In 2019, when I was first at Dan's company, I was a manager at his company. He's like, you know what, Joel? My previous sales director isn't doing too well. You know him. I'm actually going to demote him or fire him, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to run our sales team. And I was like, of course, I said yes. But he was like, you know what? But if you don't hit your targets, your quota, right, in the next quarter, I'm going to have to replace you with somebody else because you're a young guy. I'm just going to give you a shot, but I don't know what it takes. And for me, naturally wanting to take on challenges, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to rise up to the challenge. Let me go for it. So halfway through, a month and a half in, I took my sales team and we looked at the numbers. We were nowhere close to hitting the quota that Dan had set for me as sales director. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get fired.
Yeah.
This is the most embarrassing. But I got together my top closers, right? I had a team of like 100 remote sales professionals, setters and closers. But I took the 5 to 10 top people and I said, guys, we have to do something about this. Number one, I don't want to get fired. But also number two, I want to help you make more money because you guys have been struggling for the past 6 months, right? Your morale is low. Lead quality has not been great. I said, we have 1 million leads in HubSpot. So in Dan's company, we had 1 million leads. Wow. I said, we have to figure out how to revive these leads because there's so much money. I just believe there was money there. I just believe. So my 10 sales guys and me for the next month and a half, we built out a bunch of email sequences and text sequences with technology and good copy. And we called the leads, we dialed them up, voicemail drops, everything. Long story short, we made over $1 million for Dan, monies that he wouldn't have made. That's why I kept my job. Not because I hit the quota, but because I discovered something new for his company and implemented a system that is now it's on autopilot. I've left Dan's company 1.5 years ago. He still has people farming his dead leads. Yeah. So he's making money now for the rest of his business career, automated, right? Recovered.
That's incredible. So I would love to hear the behind the scenes as this is happening. So does Dan know this is going on at the time? Are you just doing this and saying, okay, when we accomplish success, we're going to show him, or what was that? What was the meeting like when you're like, hey, Dan, we just found hey, Dan, we just found $1 million in the corner over there. Pardon me. Like,
no. So the $1 million was probably collected over a period of, I want to say 8 months, right? But what I did was in my executive meeting, I was part of the executive team. I would start showing Dan and the team this is what the sales team is doing.
Yeah.
We have this new project that we call farming dead leads. We just made 200 grand this month. We just made 100 grand this month, right?
Yes.
And so the company could start seeing, okay, Joel's department is doing something really innovative. They're doing something that's high profit. Because again, we've already spent money and time to acquire these leads. They're just sitting there.
Yes.
No one's working them, right? And so they saw the value, and that's kind of why it was such a big hit.
Joel, so I congratulate you for your success. That's a spectacular story. And anybody listening right now that is sitting there going, I got a big CRM, whether it's Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever it is, and I got a ton of names sitting in there. Clearly, this fellow can pull money out of those names. So I think I would invite you to check out Joel Yi here if you're listening to this either on podcast or watching and going, I should contact Joel. Joel, why do you think that? So you're a sales guy, clearly, and you're good at it, clearly.
Yes.
Why do you think people are so scared of it? Why do you think people I'm going to use the word shun me and you because we're bothering them or because we're inboxing them or voicemailing them or emailing them?
Yeah.
Or why do you think they're like, this Joel guy's bugging me again? When I'm like, no, actually, with all respect, because you're a senior executive, and I'm saying that really sarcastically right now, you know that I'm just doing my job. Do you follow me? Right? Yeah. Why are you shunned? Why am I shunned? Why?
This is my big vision for my company, right? Because the reason why we're shunned is because the word sales has developed such a negative connotation over the past centuries. Because the sales practitioners, many of these practitioners, they sell in a very unethical, slimy, sleazy, uncomfortable way that gets people really frustrated with them. And because of the overload in what I call I don't even know how to, like, just slimy, sleazy type of selling, which a lot of people haven't learned the right way to sell, which is what we teach, non-resistant selling, right? I think it causes a very negative connotation. So when people think of us as salespeople or sales professionals, they immediately associate us to, a used car, slimy, sleazy salesperson, right? I think that's the biggest problem. But the good news is, Keith, good news is people like you and I, we can change that connotation, right? We can change it because look, you and I both know, because our products and service are so good and they actually change businesses and impact people, it's our ethical responsibility to sell more of it. But we have to come from a place of service. Serve hard, sell easy. One of my good friends, Barry Baumgartner, she said this quote, and I love it. I use it till to this day. Serve hard, sell easy.
Yes.
When you serve people first and you serve them hard, the sale becomes super easy.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But most people do it the opposite. They try to sell hard and serve easy,
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. When you get turned down and you get, and the voicemails aren't working, the emails aren't working, and the calls aren't working, how do you keep going? Like, how do you not stop?
Yeah. I got two great things for that. And I learned this all from mentors. Number one, no is just a no right now.
Yeah.
Right? There's not a no forever because everyone's situation changes all the time. Just like somebody that wanted fitness coaching 3 months ago, right, to lose weight, maybe they're in a place where they don't want to do that. But again, in 6 months, they're going to want to lose weight again because it's closer to summertime. So just because they said no to you in September, it doesn't mean they'll say no to you in March.
Yes.
So why are you not continue reaching out to them and developing the relationship? Because probably when it comes close to summer, they want to look good and have the summer body. They're going to reach out to you to lose weight. That's the first thing. No is never a no right now.
Yes.
The second thing, this is what I love because I'm such a logical guy. Like I love, and this is such an Asian stereotype. I love math. I love statistics. I love the law of numbers and the law of averages.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. Every no leads you closer to a yes.
Yeah.
That's just pure math. So the more no's you get, it means a yes is coming soon because you just cannot beat science and math and the law of averages, right? Your conversion rate percentage will always be whatever percentage it is. And that's the thing. You will make some sales. The more no's is a good thing. So we reprogram our team's mind to understand that no's are a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it means a yes is coming soon.
That's brilliant, frankly, isn't it? Because, if you get 10 no's, there's probably a yes around the corner, maybe 11 or 12 or 13. So don't expect a yes on the first one, maybe not even the first 10, but know that. And so, eventually along the way, there's going to be a yes. I think that is brilliant. And I often, I'm sure you would concur with what I'm going to say next, but I often say to somebody, listen, if you get up in the middle of the day or you're sitting at your desk and wondering what I should do next, and you're looking at your lists of tasks, always go to the sales task. And what I mean by that is go talk to somebody. Because if you're talking to somebody that can directly affect revenue, then you're doing more than most are probably doing, because most people are not doing revenue driving tasks. right? So because the more people you talk to, like this morning, for example, I had a meeting this morning at 7 o'clock that went sideways. They weren't able to make it. So I was like, all right. So I was up for a walk. Well, you know what I did for 2.5 hours? I cold called people. I was on LinkedIn. I was on email. I was just bang, 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 bang. Because it was just a law of numbers. By the time I go back to my desk, up 3 meetings booked, and I'm like, yeah, all right, there you go. It's productive, right? But it was because I had to talk to about 17 people before I got 3 meetings, right?
Correct.
So, Joel, as we wrap up, this has been a spectacular 54 minutes live in the lab with Joel Yi. As we wrap up, what would be something you would want to make sure the audience knew about you, knew about your business? Here's your chance to plug. Here's your chance to, ensure that anybody listening right now is like, hey, this is what the audience needs to know about Joel and your business.
Yes. I think and this is comments coming directly from our clients, and I have videos that I can show you, but I think the biggest thing that I'm very proud of my team and our company, right, is that we, when I say we truly care, is really what I said before. We serve hard, we sell easy. So if you choose to speak to me or one of my team members and try to get to know us, I believe you will find that we are very authentic in truly trying to see if we can help you. Because the truth is, we can't help everybody. And that's okay. We're not gonna sell you something you don't need or push something down your throat or shove something down your throat. In fact, what we typically do is we refer you to somebody else that can help you.
Yes.
So we have no problem doing that. So I think it's worth a conversation. Our clients say that we really care in terms of the quality, in terms of us showing up in the coachings, outside the coaching, in the service. So we're there for you and your team. Obviously, if a little plug, I'm like, if you need help working your dead leads, right? If you need help training your sales team, you know who you can reach out to.
Absolutely. You can find Joel on LinkedIn. You can find him there, and plug the company. The name of the company right now, Joel?
Yes, sir. You can just go to my website, joelyi.com, and you'll see my email, you'll see a form, you'll see my phone number. Simple. Instagram, @official Joel Yi.
That's fantastic. The official Joel Yi. Actually, this is a great pivot to what I want to talk to you about that next, because you're the official Joel Yi. So let's talk a little bit about AI.
Yes.
Two things. How have you worked generative AI into your business? And then secondly, how do I know this is authentically the official Joel Yi? Jokingly aside, because I'll get to that in a second. How have you worked AI into your business?
Yes. So our software is called Harvest AI. Now, the AI part of it is because we have from a CRM, a direct connection to OpenAI, which is ChatGPT.
Yes.
We can use GPT-4, 3.5 Turbo, 3.5. And what it does in our software is our bot actually replies to your leads, your prospects, via email, via text, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. And it talks like you. You can train it to be like you. You can train it in your products. So that's the AI piece that we have in our software. It responds like a human person, but it's AI. It's ChatGPT.
Gotcha. How did that change your business when you got wind of GPT making its way to the marketplace? Were you guys early with APIs a couple of years ago, or did you guys jump on when the APIs started coming out about a year ago?
We integrated this about, I would say, started this year, so maybe 8-9 months ago.
So tell me how that has changed. How has it changed the business?
Our clients love it. Because before, our clients had to have their sales team checking the inbox, and the sales team had to reply to all these messages. Now the bot just goes, doop, 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 and then people ask the bot questions, it answers, right? And then it just flags conversations that it can't answer to the sales team.
That's spectacular.
So much more time efficient. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on fake content and authentic content?
Yeah, I personally haven't seen much of it yet, but I think one thing AI can never replace is really that soul of a human being, right? That heart of a human being. You can never AI your way into that.
Yes.
Like us having a live podcast. Yes. I just don't think people are going to want to listen to two AI robots speaking together. You know what I mean? Like, we could be two AI bots, but no one's going to want to listen to that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. What I think concerns me is the ability to recreate digital versions of ourselves where people really can't discern the difference.
Yeah, that's
right.
that's gonna be a big problem.
Right.
It's
So
gonna be a huge problem, right?
So let me draw your attention to that problem, and maybe I can take 90 seconds out of your day to have a check of this. Just watch your screen here.
Yeah.
And
yeah, let me take a look at it.
check
This is your truth box, right?
Check this out. Yeah.
Let's roll it.
Can you see the screen?
Yes. Is this supposed to be sound or no?
Yeah, I don't think you can hear it, but I think our audience can hear it. You can check the link.
Okay.
You can check the link out later.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Truthbox.
Nice.
Platform.
Nice. Right on. I'm gonna check out your website.
Yeah, truthbox.ai and check out the audio behind it. But
Very cool. Very cool.
telling a story of a dystopian future that I think is going to cause some problems for many of us, and I'm hoping that we're able to solve that. So, but Joel,
yeah.
It's been an hour. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with you. It has been a pleasure. I'm excited to hear about your journey traveling across the country. I think that is going to be something quite spectacular. You know, it'd be cool actually is if we found the opportunity to do a podcast while you were remote somewhere. Would you do that with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be a lot of fun. So, everybody, this is Keith Bilous here, and we're live in the lab, playing us out with some Masked Wolf, Astronaut in the Ocean. Keith Bilous, Joel Yi. We are live in the lab, live in the Business Athlete Performance Lab. See everybody tomorrow.
Y'all don't really know my mental. Let me give you the picture like stencil. Falling out in